So we're able to detect that the game is over. Now it would be nice to also output a summary on the game over screen. Now we can dive deeper into the styling and the detail output there later. For now, let's just make sure that we maybe at least output the number of rounds it took the computer to win, or what means to win, to guess our number. So number of rounds is something I want to output here on the game over screen. And that's, of course, a value we need to get from our props because we're managing this number of rounds in the app component in the end, here in guess rounds. So in the game over screen, we get this on props, rounds, number, or whatever you want to name this. It's up to you how you name this prop. And maybe also output the number the computer had to guess. Number was, and then props user number, maybe. So these are two props we now need to set on the game over screen, rounds number and user number. So back in the app component, on the game over screen, we set rounds number and user number. User number, of course, should be our user number we have there. User number between the curly braces now refers to our user number state here. User number before the equal sign simply refers to the prop we're passing to game over screen. And rounds number, of course, is guess rounds. So that's the number of rounds it took the computer to guess this. So this is now forwarded to the game over screen and can be output there. On the game over screen, I also want to have a button that allows the user to restart the game. So let's add a button here. And for that, you need to import the button from React Native. So let's add a button here. And the title of this button could be New Game. And on a press, I, want to start a new game. Now, again, the app component is where we in the end control whether the game is running or not, where we present the different game screens. So it's here where we need to change something if a new game should start. And it would make sense that in the app component, we therefore have a new function. Can be defined anywhere. I'll define it here as a first function because it's the function that allows us to configure a new game. So maybe configure new game handler. You can name it whatever you want. And there I expect no arguments, but I want to set my guess rounds to 0. Therefore, actually, we don't need to do this here when we start a new game because we're definitely doing it right before we configure a new game even. So we can set the guess rounds to 0 here. And by doing that, we already ensure that in our if check down there, this condition will not be met anymore. Because if we set guess rounds to 0, it's certainly not greater than 0 anymore. So we'll certainly leave the game over screen. And then, however, we would display the game screen again. So to see the start game screen again, which we want to see because that's the screen that allows us to configure and start a new game, we have to make sure that we also reset the user number, so the selected number. So here we can also set user number to null to reset this to a false-ish value. And now configure new game handler resets everything that we checked down there, hence we should see the start game screen. Now we just need to pass a pointer at configure new game handler down to the game over screen. So there I'll add a prop on restart maybe, and that points at configure new game handler. So now we can use the on restart prop inside of the game over screen by binding it to this button. There, upon a press, I want to execute on restart, as a function without parentheses here, because here I just pointed it so that on press registers this pointer, and when this button is pressed, this function will execute. Let's give all of that a try. Let's enter a number, 41 maybe, and start a game. And lower, that was fast, but that's okay. 2 rounds, the number was 41, that's correct. And if I click new game, we're back here. Let's give it a try, 66. Greater, greater, lower, 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 even lower, greater, lower. Whoa, that's taking long. Lower, greater, greater, lower, lower, greater, yeah. 14 rounds, so it can also take longer. But the main thing is, our logic here works. And that's actually already the finished logic of the entire game. Now, what's not finished, however, is the overall styling. I want to have a different button here, want to have different buttons here, want to use my own font, want to use some icons, and I also want to make sure that we show a little image on the screen where the game is over. So here I also want to have a little image. So these are all the things we'll tackle next. Lots of styling and image adding to be done.